Yes, it's news time at Waters and Stanton, your ham radio stop. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me on this channel, this video channel, a news item. We don't normally have two news videos in 1 month, but we have this month. Breaking news. MFJ are closing their doors, or at least they're closing their manufacturing doors. MFJ have been in business now for 52 years, just a year longer than we've been in business. Martin wrote a letter publicly to dealers and to societies saying that after such a long time, 52 years, it was time to close the manufacturing side of the business. And he cited COVID as the thing that really changed the scene as far as he was concerned. And I think there's many companies that would identify with that. I mean, we ourselves decided to move from Portsmouth to a central location where, for various reasons, it was much more efficient to operate, and we've now formed a sort of a group, if you like, and a centralised operation with younger people taking major decisions and very close to the M1 motorway, so it means to say that transport and so forth is much easier. Anyway, back to MFJ. Martin started his business 52 years ago, and I've had a very close relationship with Martin. In fact, at one time we were having a meal and Martin put his hand over my shoulder and he said, "Peter," he said, "you're like a brother to me." I first came in contact with Martin shortly after we started our business. We started business in 1973, so I think Martin started in 1972. And I started the company myself actually from home, but I was desperate to find a product. We first of all imported something called the mini beam, and that's before we had commercial premises. I was operating from home importing the mini beam, run by a guy called Will Manola, and it was known as Mini Products, I think, and we imported many of those antennas, and I think there's probably still a few around now. But I was desperate to find another product, and I came across an advert, MFJ Enterprises, and they're advertising, I think it was called the CW2. It was a little audio filter. It was the idea was you place the filter, or you fed the output of your receiver or transceiver into this box, and you had quite amazing selectivity. It really narrowed down the selectivity, particularly for CW. I think there was an SSB position on there, but it was mainly for CW. And bearing in mind, in those days, we didn't have digital transceiver, we didn't have SDR, etc. Anything to try and narrow the passband down, even if it was in the audio chain, was welcome, and it worked very effectively, and we sold hundreds of them. What I should explain is that in order to get in touch with Martin, I had to send an email. We didn't have internet then. I had to send an email letter. So it took time. It would take perhaps 10 days before you got an answer, allowing for the letter to arrive and then Martin to write a letter back by email. Anyway, we got to the agency for this CW2 module. And the interesting thing was that everyone that came to us was wrapped in copies of I think it's called the Starkville Times, because MFJ were located in Starkville, Mississippi. And I found it fascinating. When we unwrapped each of these products, I found myself reading the Starkville Times. It was quite an interesting little paper. And bearing in mind that we didn't have internet then, to actually see a local paper from America was quite fascinating. But anyway, this product sold very well, and it helped us get on our feet. What I didn't know for many years, until Martin told me the story one day when we were having a meal in Dayton. He said, "Peter, I can tell you the story about this CW2. Martin was a very clever guy. He's very laid back, but he's also very clever. And he was, at the time, teaching in I'm not sure it was a university or a college, but he was teaching electronics in this educational establishment. And one of the things that they had to do to complete the project or complete their course was to manufacture an item. And Martin designed this CW2 filter, and it was the task of the class to actually make one of these, and he would mark it out of 10 or whatever. But then he would then box it up and sell it. Quite a smart move from Martin. So that's really how his business started. He started manufacturing the CW2, but he didn't have to pay for the staff. The staff were actually his pupils. I've always enjoyed that story. But Martin's business grew. He grew rapidly. At one time, well, I think we're probably the oldest dealer that he ever had, because we started bringing his products in when he was probably actually still working effectively from home. And we have been had a relationship with Martin for many, many years, and I've had many chats with Martin. As I say, he's a laid-back guy, but he's very smart, and his business done wonderfully well. But of course there comes a time when you have to make decisions, and Martin is recently celebrated his 80th birthday. And I think if you read the letter, well, actually I've put a copy of the letter, or put a link to the letter below this video, so you can see for yourself what Martin said. It's a very sort of emotional letter, really, but I suppose it's one that happens to a lot of companies. There's not many companies that survive 50 years. Martin's done very well, and we're still going. So there's some lessons to be learned there, I suppose. I'm not quite sure what lessons, but there are some lessons to be learned. But I must have had countless chats with Martin over the years. Thoroughly enjoyed the chats, and we always had a meal with Martin when we went to Dayton. So where is MFJ now? Well, Martin says in his letter that they're closing the doors on the 17th of May, so it's another couple of weeks yet, but they will still service their products, whether they're in or out of warranty. The letter does perhaps hint that MFJ as a name may not cease to exist, and I would be surprised if MFJ as a name doesn't continue. But where does it leave us, really? Well, I suppose that we must all be very conscious that there's a lot of accessories now being imported from China, and I suppose that also has hit the marketplace. I suspect that the MFJ name will continue. May well be products that carry the MFJ name. It would be very unusual if a name such as MFJ, which is universally known in the ham radio world, just suddenly disappeared. It's sort of too valuable for that. Whether Martin will take any part in that, I don't know, but he can certainly rest on his laurels. What has MFJ done? Well, one of the big things that MFJ done over the years is to produce antenna tuners, manual antenna tuners. They must have sold thousands and thousands of them. So there'll be a gap there in the market for low-cost antenna tuning units, although of course there's still other manufacturers that will be able to supply them. Not so many manufacturers supplying manual ones. Automatic ATUs, yes, there's quite a few of those. The manual tuners, not so many about, so I think we shall see a gap there. One of the things that Martin did introduce, which is it was a real amazing product. We sold thousands, and that was the antenna analyzer. He was the first in the marketplace to produce an antenna analyzer, the MFJ 259, etc. We sold countless numbers of those products. We had sort of waiting lists sometimes when they were first introduced. So that's one thing that MFJ really were renowned for, or two things really: their antenna tuners and the antenna analyzers. But the amateur radio marketplace has changed somewhat. There's a recent editorial in QST, and I put a link to that as well. QST, it's Jim W6LG in his video channel said it was a rant, and it really is a rant, I suppose, in some ways. QST are obviously suffering, probably more so now than when the editorial was written, because MFJ used to have something like 10 or 12 pages of advertising in each magazine. Sorry, there's a bit of a background noise here. We've got some workmen here. I hope it's not affecting too much. The QST editor has written saying that basically the QST are having a tough time of it. Basically, two reasons. I think there's the advertising revenue has dropped, and the newcomers in ham radio, and particularly those in the range of years 30 to 60, are not really finding QST is giving them what they want. And that really underlines the fact that the printed page is not being used as it was once. The printed page used to carry lots and lots of advertising. That was the way that you advertise your products. There's no other way. But of course, the digital media now has well and truly clobbered that, and the advertising revenue in magazines is going down, and I suppose Radcom will be affected as well. I mean, we'll see in the accounts that their revenue on advertising has gone down, and it's not surprising. That's the way of the world. So I think QST are looking at using digital media to promote their magazine, and I guess that will apply to other ham radio magazines around the world. So there we are. Anyway, it's goodbye to MFJ as we know them now. I'm not sure it's goodbye to MFJ altogether. And if you are watching this, Martin, many thanks for what you've done to the ham radio market. You've produced some amazing products. You're a smart guy, and you deserve to enjoy a bit of leisure now in your life, as I'm sure you will. I know you like your whiskey. In the meantime, thank you for watching this video. I thought I'd better give you this update. We still stock the MFJ products, and they will be around for some while. But I think perhaps some of them might be collector's items, actually. Anyway, we shall see. In the meantime, you enjoy your ham radio, you take care, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.